Hey everyone, it's me, Katanari, and after my poll on DeviantArt, I decided I was going to do a tour of my old sketchbooks. If I sound a little bit sick, it's because I am. I have a head cold right now, so sorry. But I really wanted to get going on this, and I wanted to start with a little disclaimer. So this is my old art, this is from 2009. That's like, oh god, 10 years ago now. I was 13. I was in junior high school at the time, and I thought this art was probably the best that I was ever going to be. I remember looking at some of these pieces and thinking, this is amazing. And now I clearly don't think that. But I don't want you to think that just because I don't like my old art, that I don't like your art, if your art looks like this. Every artist has to start somewhere, and I don't want this to discourage people from being where they are when they're there. I want this to be more about showing you how much progress you can make and how far you can come. So I don't want anyone to feel bad about their art, because I might hunt you down and give you a hug or something. Okay, so let's get started. This was from back in my Baltosaurus days, so there's going to be a lot of wolves in there, I can tell you right now. This one was drawn on a napkin. I think it was done at a restaurant when we were in Florida. And this one, I remember being so proud of this. And I look at it now, and a little part of me is like, the anatomy. But another part is like, there's some really good pieces in it. The expression is meaningful, and the pose is actually, decent, even if the anatomy's a little wonky. I drew my persona, Katanari, a lot more in those days, so here's a picture of her being all moody and stuff. A lot of them are her being moody. There's someone like talking behind her back. I don't know, maybe there are rumors going on. Who knows? 13-year-old drama. Here's just like a random character that I designed, and I actually think this was someone like that I knew. I think I based a lot of characters on people that I knew, and it was probably a way for me to cope with feelings. Yeah, one of my friends drew that. I was in a stage where I was convinced that I would teach every single one of my friends how to draw lions. Here's me working on like a semi-realistic style that I tried and failed at. Here's a Tyrannosaurus lion, maybe? I did this a couple times and I never really got it to work out for me. This was like a setup for a painting that I wanted to do, never got around to. That's Saba, one of my Baltosaurus OCs. You'll see her a couple more times in here. She was one of my favorites. Ooh, okay. This one is a drawing of Nuka. This was one of the first sketches. I did a few more. Yep, here they are. And actually, this is one of the few that I actually brought digital, but I never got around to completing it. I felt like I couldn't do the background how I wanted it to at the time, so I'll dig around and see if I can find that file to share with you guys, because I got pretty far in it, and I was pretty proud of it at the time. Okay, this one is a confrontation between one of my Balto OCs and Niju. For those of you who have seen Balto 2, that movie was like my bread and butter as a kid. Okay, now this one I was amazingly proud of. I was in love with Black Blood Alliance at the time. I had the comic, I think I had a signed version. I wanted to buy the figurines, but I didn't have enough money because I was like 13. And I was so pleased with how this character came out. Her name was Fleet Feet, and she was pretty much, Black Blood Dyer, except, well, she was my OC and I didn't call her that. So it was basically a knockoff BBA. And I just remember being so pleased with the angle on her face and the shagginess of her fur, and especially her eyes. They were so expressive to me, and I still think those things about it. These are some of my knockoff BBA characters. An embarrassing cow character named Annabelle that I made with my boyfriend at the time. There she is with her friend Calvin the rooster. I'm probably going to fast forward through this part. Okay, here is Fleet Feet and her little brother. It says Ralph on the page, but I don't know why. That wasn't his name. His name was Rom, like R-O-M. Here's Kat and her boyfriend. A couple sketches of Kat's face, trying to get the angle right for a piece I wanted to do. I think these are supposed to be Lion King. That might be Sarabi, and I think that's definitely Simba right there, looking all... Okay, these two sisters had kind of an interesting story. I mean, it's kind of original, I guess. It was this idea that others have had, that Scar had a bunch of daughters, and I mean just like a crap ton of daughters, and these were two of them. And in this story, all of Scar's daughters received scars over their eyes and were exiled. And I was just like trying to get a feel for these sisters and maybe what kind of challenges they faced. And that's kind of what I mean when I said in my journal about the creativity of my former self. I didn't really care about making an extended story or about making everything this overarching plot. I just created characters and I went with them and then kind of never visited them again. Oh dear. So, I have always loved horses, like always. I've been crazy about them. I started riding when I was in 3rd grade, and I've always thought they're just like beautiful animals, and I love them very much, and I always like to be around them. They make me happy and whatnot, and throughout the years, I spent a lot of time drawing horses, and horses are very difficult to draw. I kind of ended up using them as a benchmark for my improvement over the years, especially all throughout high school. I did a bunch of different horse drawings in color at some point, and they were pretty good and actually a really great way to measure my improvement. Maybe I'll try to dig those up. This one, however, I don't think I had a reference. It looks a little unreferenced, and I remember being really proud of it, obviously, because I signed it, but I look at it now and all I can think is, anatomy. More Black Blood Alliance fan art. Even more fan art. Balto and one of my versions of one of his sons. His name was Narthus. Yes, I made it up. I made up a lot of my names back then. And, I don't think they were very good, honestly. But again, that's kind of what's so cool about this age in my art. I didn't really know that a lot of the Lion King names were actually, African words. So I just kind of made up names that sounded kind of like them. What I think is interesting is that this page is actually my attempt at redrawing something I had drawn earlier. Well, like, at least the character at the top is. The character on the lower left, I don't even know who she is, honestly. Here I was trying to redesign Katanari's kids because they kind of looked just like carbon copies of her and her mate. And then I must have just had next gens on the brain because these are all of my versions of Balto and Jenna's grandkids. Actually, it's not even all of them. It's just the ones that I managed to work into here, and you can see like from that little circle on the right that I was probably planning on adding even more. That was that list on the previous page, was all of their kids and then all of their kids' kids. So, ooh, okay, this is a little bit interesting, I think. This is how at the time I drew Kovu and Kiara, and to me they looked so on model. I remember thinking that, like, yeah, I know my style's different from TLK, but you can still tell who they are. And I mean, not really, but like, that was a step that I had to take to get where I am now. I at this point, I think I was realizing that I didn't quite draw the characters on model, and it's only a few years later when I start really referencing TLK screenshots and when my style really begins to change towards the more on model style that I have now. You can see in these next few sketches that I use those line skeletons, so I can map out where the joints and the bones are. This is another one that I was super, super proud of, and I also tried to take it digital, but again, I think my digital skills at the time didn't match up with my traditional drawing skills, so every time I brought one of these drawings into digital, it felt like I couldn't do them justice. Like, the digital version was never going to be as good as the version looked on paper, and I think that's why a lot of these ended up staying sketches. I also, would just draw characters, and they would always be kind of weird, but you know what, they were pretty. Here's Kovu and one of his daughters at the time. I think it might be, Kiska or something is a version I had. Here's a character, TLK OC, that she was actually based off of a character in one of the Lion King storybooks, like a background character, Outlander, and she was just this huge gray lioness, and I decided her name would probably be something like Bull, because she's as big as a bull or something. And this was still at the time when I thought, if I wanted to portray that something was big, you just make its legs really long. me deciding to sketch myself over the years. I guess I was 14 when I did this drawing, because I was definitely not 19 yet, and I think it's absolutely hilarious what I thought I'd be like at 19, because also that's pretty spot on as to what I actually looked like. Just, ugh. Woo, more horses. Actually, in the next few sketchbooks, I get really, really into horses. Like, so many horses. Just more sketches, more concepts that I never really took anywhere, either because I felt like my skills couldn't get me there, or because I don't know, maybe I didn't like how the concept turned out. I don't quite remember. Here's another one that I finished drawing and I scanned and I started doing digitally, and I just never finished it. I remember actually, I made the file, like, I made the dimensions way too small. I scanned it at way too low of a resolution, so all of the brushes that I used looked super pixelated, and when I tried to resize the line art, it got all, pixelated and distorted, and I was so frustrated with it that I was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm not doing this. But it was a really cute little sketch. I remember being really proud of the expression on the face of the wolf on the lower right. Like, yes, now I have properly captured, compassion and kindness and concern all in one. And followed it up with a really wonky looking horse. Here's another one of those random characters, and I actually think I made a color scheme for this guy on MS Paint at some point. And that's another one of the files that I want to see if I can dig up. If anyone's interested in these characters, man, just let me know. And there you have it. That's one of my sketchbooks from, I did not draw this. This was when I was teaching one of my friends. I can just tell by looking at the style. I might even know which friend it is, but anyway. Yeah, that's one of my sketchbooks from when I was 13/14 years old. I know this was kind of long. It got a lot longer than I wanted it to, but that's how it goes. Be sure to check out my DeviantArt. If you want to support me, I'm over on Patreon. Just search Katanery. That's where you'll always find me. Let me know in the comments how you feel about like the formatting of this video. If you think I should do them quicker, if you think I should just kind of like flip through, less commentary, let me know, because I really would like to do more. This isn't the best of me, I'll tell you that. But there was some good stuff in here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!